Hello everyone. In this video, we'll go over the Wordly Wise Book 4 Lesson 6 words. You can follow along at home using your book. Let's get started. The first word is applaud. Applaud can be used as a verb and it means to show approval, especially by clapping hands. For example, the audience applauded until the actors came back on stage to take another bow. So when we applaud something, we're clapping or cheering to show that you liked something. It's clapping and cheering both at the same time usually. And this word can also be used as a noun. It changes to applause, and it is the showing of approval or enjoyment by cheering or clapping. For example, the theater lights came on after the applause had died down. But this word applause as a noun can also mean showing a strong approval, like someone approves what you did. For example, if you worked really hard and your teacher approves of how hard you work, I could say something like, the teacher applauded his effort. That doesn't really mean that the teacher was actually clapping or cheering, but they were very approving of how hard the student worked. They really liked it. Another example of using this word applaud could be, the class applauded after the speech, or maybe everyone applauded at the singer's beautiful song. And when we use it as a noun, I could say, the crowd gave loud applause after the game. Or maybe if you are a singer on stage, I could say something like, she smiled after she heard the applause. So either way of using this word as a verb or as a noun, you can imagine that people are clapping and cheering someone on. The next word is crafty. Crafty is an adjective, and crafty means skilled at tricking others. So someone is being sneaky or doing something in a tricky way. It can often be a character that's described as being very clever. For example, Templeton, the crafty and mean rat in Charlotte's Web, adds humor to the book. So in the story Charlotte's Web, there is a rat named Templeton, and he's known to be very greedy. He only cares about food or only does things if it will also help him. So that's why he is described as being crafty. He's very skilled at tricking other people to get what he wants. Foxes are often described as being tricky or clever or crafty characters. For example, there is a famous story about a fox and a crow who uses his clever mind or uses trickery to trick the crow into dropping a piece of cheese from its mouth because the fox was hungry. So the fox praises the crow's beauty and voice, and it makes this crow cry out to show how beautiful its sound is, and it drops the cheese so the fox can steal it. So the fox was very clever or crafty. He found a crafty way of getting what he wanted. So we can use this word crafty in that kind of way, someone who is very good at tricking others to get what they want. It usually does have a negative meaning, so the people or the characters who are being crafty are usually doing things that are maybe not that good, or they're only doing things because it will benefit them in some way. This word crafty, you might also see it be used to describe someone who is good at crafts or good at making things. That is another way that this word is used sometimes, but here in this book, we're not using it in that way. Our next word is disclose. Disclose is a verb and it means to make known. When you disclose something, you are telling it or you are revealing something that is hidden to other people. The example says, The principal told us we must disclose the names of those who broke the window. So in a school, there were some students who broke a window, either by accident or maybe on purpose. And now the principal is telling all of the students that they must disclose. So they must tell, if they know, the name of the people or the other students who broke the window. So when you disclose something, you are telling it. Another example using this word could be, the letter disclosed the winner of the contest, or she did not want to disclose her secret plan. Or here in this video, you can see Superman. So I could make a sentence like, Superman does not want to disclose his identity, so he wears a disguise. He doesn't want people to know who he is, so he wears regular clothes and glasses. So when we tell someone something, we are disclosing it, especially if it's something that is hidden or secret. The next word is drab. Drab is an adjective and it means dull and without color, not cheerful or colorful. For example, a brown sparrow is a drab little bird compared to a bright red cardinal. So something that is drab is very plain, not colorful. It might be something in this family of colors here. So you can see all of these colors are a little bit dark, and it might make something look sad or not cheerful. So whenever things are usually in this color, they might be described as being drab. I could make a sentence with this word like, the room looked drab before we painted it. Maybe it looked very dark or dull, so it was drab. Or I could say, the rainy sky made the day feel drab. It made it feel not cheerful or almost like colorless, because everything turns into this kind of dark brown or gray color. The next word is entire. Entire is an adjective and it means having nothing left out, whole or complete. For example, I recited the entire Robert Frost poem from memory. So entire is all of something. There's no part of it missing. I could say something like, the family ate the entire meal. So there's nothing left on the plates. Everything is gone. They ate the entire thing. Or I might say, the entire class went to the library. So not only a few students, but all of the students in the class, the whole class went to the library. So we can use this word entire instead of saying whole. Another example could be, I spent the entire night studying for the test. If you didn't sleep and you were awake all night, you can say you stayed awake the entire night. So whenever you're making a sentence or writing a story, instead of just using the word whole or all, we can use this word entire instead. The next word is exclaim. Exclaim can be used as a verb and it means to speak suddenly and with strong feeling. For example, today was the worst day of my life, she exclaimed. Whenever we have a sentence with an exclamation mark like this, it means that there is some strong feeling going on in that sentence. So we can use this word exclaim to talk about how that person is speaking. They're speaking in a loud and strong feeling kind of way. And we can also use this as a noun, but it changes to exclamation. Exclamation is a sharp cry of strong feeling. For example, Grandpa's exclamation of pain sent me rushing to his side. So you can imagine if someone suddenly got hurt, they might have an exclamation of pain, some kind of sound or noise that they make suddenly that tells others that they are in pain. That can be an exclamation. You might have an exclamation of pain or fright or even joy if you're happy about a certain situation. For example, I could say, she exclaimed in surprise when she saw the puppy. Or, his loud exclamation made everyone turn around. Another time when you might exclaim is if you get a birthday present or just any present that you were not expecting. You might exclaim something like, wow, or oh my god. And in this picture too, the girl is looking at the teddy bears, but the price of the teddy bears is $300. So she might exclaim, wow, this is expensive or too expensive. So again, when you exclaim, when you're using the verb, it means you are saying something suddenly with strong feeling. When you say exclamation, this is the thing that someone says with the strong feeling. So don't get these two mixed up, since this one is the noun and this one is the verb. Our next word is exquisite. Exquisite is an adjective and it means finely done or made, very beautiful. For example, the exquisite wood carvings on the museum door came from the island of Bali. So something that is exquisite is very beautiful. There are a lot of details in exquisite things, or it's made in a very careful way. And exquisite things usually also are a little bit or very expensive. So I could say something like, the model wore an exquisite dress on the runway. It was made very well and it's very beautiful, so I can describe it as exquisite. Here too, there is an exquisite cake. So it's not just a regular cake. There's many different parts to the cake. It has a lot of layers. There's hundreds of flowers on this cake. It's not just a regular one. And you can tell that it took a lot of time and a lot of effort to make this cake, or to make any of these things here. So anything like that that requires a lot of effort and skill and it's very beautiful can be described as being exquisite. Our next word is intend. Intend can be used as a verb and it means to plan, to have in mind. For example, I intend to give a piano recital on Monday. When you intend to do something, it means that you are planning to do this thing. So it's something that you plan to do on purpose. Another example could be like in this picture here, I could say, he intends to finish the book tonight. So he is planning to work on this book tonight and finish it tonight. That's his plan. And we can also use intend as a noun, but it does change to intention. And now intention is an aim, plan, or purpose. So remember, when we use it as a noun, it is now a thing, not an action anymore. And the example sentence says, it was Thea's intention to work in a bookstore, but she decided to go to summer camp instead. So this person's plan, or maybe aim, was to work at a bookstore. Unfortunately, it didn't work out and she decided to go to summer camp instead. So we will often use this word to say that you had some kind of plan, but then maybe something else happened. So another example could be here in this picture. Using it as a verb, I could say, they intended to arrive early, but traffic was bad. Or in this picture here, the child was trying to help with washing the dishes, but unfortunately, he dropped one of the dishes and it broke. So I could say, his intention was to help, not to cause trouble. So his goal or his aim was to help, but unfortunately something didn't happen and the opposite thing maybe happened. Another example could be, the teacher intended to clean the desks before class. So that was her plan. Or she could say, my intention is to clean my desk before class. So we can use this word intend anytime that you have a plan to do something, or a lot of times if you are having a plan but maybe something else than what you expected happened. The next word is jeer. Jeer can be used as a verb and it means to speak or cry out in scorn, to mock. So when you jeer, you are laughing at someone or you are saying unkind things to make fun of them. For example, my brother told me to ignore the older boys if they jeered when I sang. So in this sentence, there's someone who might be singing, for example, at a school competition, and her brother gave her advice to just ignore other boys if they started to jeer at her. So if they started to say any unkind things about her singing, just ignore it. So a jeer is a mean comment or something someone shouts. It's very similar to the word mock, but it's often more loud. So louder and also in public. We can also use jeer as a noun, and it is something said that is meant to hurt or insult. So the meaning is the same, we're just using it as a noun now. So now we're talking about the actual thing that was said or done. The example says, a football coach soon learned to ignore the jeers of the crowd. So often when you go to some kind of sports game, the crowd might start to jeer at the opposite team. So if they are rooting for one team, they might start to say insults or mean things about the other team to kind of make them lose their focus while they're playing. So that is called a jeer. You could also use this word to say something like, the crowd began to jeer when the player missed the goal, or the bully tried to jeer at the younger students, or his rude jeer hurt her feelings. So anytime you are talking about some kind of unkind words or insults that someone is saying in a loud way, you can use this word jeer as a verb or a noun to talk about that. The next word is peer. Peer is a verb, and peer is to look closely, to stare, especially at something that is hard to see or to understand. The example sentence says, Ahmed peered at the sign, trying to read what it said. So you are looking very closely at something. Usually you peer at things that are hard to see, such as very small signs or labels like this one here. So I could say something like, I peered at the tiny print on the label. Or you could say, he peered at the tiny words on the paper. So you're looking very closely to see something small or something that's far away or hard to see. I could also say the cat peered at me from the kitchen. So he's looking at me very closely. Maybe I'm far away and the cat is trying to see what I'm doing. So we can use the word peer in this way. The next word is progress. And there are two different ways that we pronounce this word depending on whether it's a noun or a verb. If it is a noun, we pronounce it as progress. So the emphasis is on this first part here, progress, progress. If we are using the word as a verb, the pronunciation changes a little bit. Now it is progress, progress. And the emphasis is on the second part of the word. So this is the word that we're really focusing on, or the part of the word we're focusing on and trying to make a little bit louder or stronger. Progress, progress. So the first one is progress, 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 progress. So as a noun, progress means moving toward a goal. So something is moving forward, something is getting better. For example, the stormy sea slowed the small boat's progress. So here the boat was trying to move forward, go to where it wants to go, its destination, but the storm was slowing down its progress. So it couldn't move forward towards its goal at the rate that it wanted to go. It was being slowed down. And progress can also be an improvement, so something that is made better. For example, I am finally making some progress learning the new app. So when you're getting better at something, you can use this word progress to explain that it's getting better or improving. So I could say, she made great progress in reading this year. She got better at it, she improved a lot. As a verb, we can use this word progress. It also means that something is moving forward. And an example would be, work on the new bridge progressed at a faster pace when the weather improved. It can also be to advance to a higher stage, to improve. And the example says, Manuel progressed so fast on the tuba that he got into the school band. And you might be thinking, how do I know when I need to say progress and when I need to say progress? Please remember, when it is being used as a noun, that's when we say progress. In this sentence, the stormy sea slowed the small boat's progress. My action word is not progress. My action word is over here. So since progress is not the action word in this sentence, then I know it's a thing, and I need to pronounce it as progress. But over here, we're using it as the action. It is a verb. So here, work on the new bridge progressed. This is the action. This is the thing that is happening. So since it is a verb, it's an action, now I need to pronounce it as progress instead of progress. So if you're confused about it, look carefully at the sentence and see whether it's being used as a thing or whether it's being used as an action. The next word is refine. Refine can be used as a verb, and it means to make pure by removing all unwanted matter. So you are making something better, cleaner, or more pure. The example says, we take oil from deep inside the earth and refine it into gasoline. So just like this picture here of the water, we get some dirty water or something that is not clean first, and then we do some process that will refine that liquid. So since this is water, I can say the water was refined. It was cleaned. So now everything that was unwanted or dirty inside was removed. So whenever that happens to any kind of liquid or other material, we can use this word refine to describe that action of it getting cleaner or just better. For example, here I can say this drawing, the first one, doesn't have a lot of details, but the second one is much more detailed. So I could make a sentence like, she refined her drawing by adding more detail. So she improved it or made it better. And then maybe she will refine it again one more time after this one to make it even better and cleaner. Maybe she will remove all of these unwanted lines here on the face of the drawing. So when we are making something better or cleaner, we are refining it. But we can also use it as an adjective, and we change it to refined. And it means in a pure state. The example says, refined flour has a lot of the wheat germ removed. So now we're talking about the flour. We are using this word as an adjective to describe the flour. So it's not just regular flour anymore. It's flour that has been refined, or it's had all of the unwanted things in it removed. And refined as an adjective can also be having good manners and good taste. The example says, he was a noisy and rude boy, but as a young man, he is gentle and refined. So this person, maybe when they were younger, they were a little bit noisy and rude. Maybe they caused a lot of trouble. But when they became a young man, so when they grew up a little bit, now they have good manners and good taste. So I can describe them now as being refined. Our next word is scoundrel. Scoundrel is a noun, and a scoundrel is a mean or wicked person. For example, I'm glad the police caught the scoundrel who stole my wallet. So, a scoundrel is a mean or dishonest person. We often use this word to talk about thieves because they are often a little bit mean or wicked. And this word is often used in stories or books. It's not very commonly used just in regular everyday conversation anymore, but you might see it a lot if you read books, especially books about the past. So it sounds a little bit old-fashioned, but in a fun and dramatic way. I could use this word to make some sentences like, the sneaky thief was called a scoundrel. Or maybe the story's villain was a clever scoundrel. Or even the scoundrel tricked people out of their money. So anytime you have a character who is mean or wicked, maybe someone who tricks people or steals things, it might be fun to describe them as being a scoundrel. The next word is uneasy. Uneasy is an adjective and it means not comfortable, worried, or nervous. For example, I felt uneasy walking down the dark street until I observed my dad on the corner. So when you feel uneasy, you are worried, nervous, or maybe not comfortable. Just like walking down this dark road by yourself might make you feel uneasy. It might make you worried that there are maybe some scoundrels here hiding, waiting to attack people. So that would make you feel uneasy. You might feel uneasy being alone in the dark, or you might even feel uneasy if you have a big test that's coming up soon. You might be worried about it. Some other things that could make people uneasy would be maybe flying on an airplane during a storm, or seeing some creatures like bats or spiders or snakes. This often makes people feel uneasy or not comfortable. The next word is vain. Vain can be used as an adjective and it means having too high an opinion of one's looks or achievements. So someone who is vain thinks that they are the best. They are the highest of something. They look the best. They are the most beautiful. Even if that is true, even if they are, they would be called vain if they have that opinion of themselves. The example says, Charlie is so vain he has a full-length mirror in every room. So this person, Charlie in the sentence, thinks maybe that they are so handsome or so beautiful that in every room there is a mirror. That way he can look at himself in every room. So that kind of action or behavior would be called vain. We can also use this word to mean without success. And this time it means that someone is trying something, but it didn't work. For example, the firefighters made a vain attempt to keep the fire from spreading. So even though they tried their best, the way that they tried was vain because there's no way that they could stop this giant fire from spreading. No matter what they did, it was always going to happen. So this word kind of means that even though you try, no matter what you do, it will not have any success. There was very little chance that you would succeed. And we also use that word by putting it together with in to make it in vain. And now this adverb means without success or result, useless. So it's the same as this one here, but we're using it as an adverb and together with in. The example says, all my hand waving was in vain. The teacher never called on me. So a good example of this might be here. I could say something like, although he studied all night, his hard work was in vain because he failed the test. So even though he worked hard all night and to study for this test, it was all in vain because he got an F on his test. Or here I could say, he tried to catch the bus in vain because there was no way that he could catch up to this bus. It had already left the bus station. So even though he tried, it was unsuccessful. It was going to fail. So if you want to use this word, you can remember it either means someone who thinks they are the best or most handsome, most beautiful, or when you try to do something, but it is unsuccessful. It fails. And remember, since we are using it as an adjective here, we need to explain what it is that was vain. So my attempt was vain. Or here, my hand waving, now it's an adverb. My hand waving was the thing that was in vain. And that's all for this video. We went over the Wordly Wise Book 4 Lesson 6 words. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Bye!